Welcome to Trade You for the Fruit Punch, Season 1, Episode 4. Before we get into it, a few
I have a
random
question for you
thoughts.
first.
Yeah, sure.
Do we have seasons? Is this a seasonal thing? You
Yeah,
always
no, I
say season 1. Where's the cutoff?
don't know. I haven't figured it out yet, but we'll figure it out.
That's
Our
worrying.
listeners, because we do have more than one now, will let us know what they think. We'll have to take like a break of some sort. Um, So, one of the things I did on the last pod was I thanked you again at the end, if anybody made it all the way to the end. And I kind of feel like that might be something I keep doing, even though you're
I
a co host. So,
think it's horrible.
but I
I think
feel
it's too.
like, but you're a student and I appreciate your time. And I feel like I'm kind of running the show here anyway. So,
Wow.
um,
You think you're
yeah, no,
running
I
the
know.
show?
A little bit. I think
It's strong.
it's a strong thought, but I don't think it's a completely off thought. But so Ari and I had a Last Supper a few nights ago because I'm going away for a little while.
He's
We
ditching
took him
me.
out to. I'm ditching him. I took him out for a dinner, and we had honey Old Bay wings.
They
And
weren't terrible.
no, but they were really honey forward, right? So they weren't
Honey
really old.
forward.
And you're more of an Old Bay kind of guy,
That's why I said we should order them, because I was kind of a bake guy.
right?
But it was very honey forward.
They were very honey forward. So I just, I think we should have gone with the buffalo. You then got like
I
the
hate
steak that you
buffalo.
barely ate. Yeah, I don't understand you. Buffalo with a good blue cheese is like
I'm also
one of the
allergic
best
to blue cheese.
combos. Yeah, but nobody has to
And
eat the
also,
blue
it's
cheese.
meat with cheese. Like, you're just.
Well, it's chicken. Let's be honest. Like, that's iffy anyhow. Um, so I I'm doing this like you've seen me, right? I'm doing this like lumen thing, and
Your vape.
they're an unofficial advertiser of the pod, and it makes me breathe into a device. Like it looks like I'm vaping, which I'm not,
Looks like you're vaping.
but it's also completely like destroying the way I eat because it like every day I breathe into it, it tells me what my metabolism's like, and then it gives me like what kind of day I'm going to have in terms of the carbs, right?
So
So
I've
there's
seen
a
this
point to the story,
firsthand, and you're
right?
never eating enough somehow.
Um,
You're like,
um,
I've eaten an incredible amount. No human being should ever have eaten this. And your lumen is still telling you, you could use.
well, from a calorie standpoint, like I never eat enough protein, I never eat enough fat. But so one of the things I'm now doing, right? So there's this yogurt cheese thing that I make. It's called labneh for those of you out there. And I was peeling some carrots, and I ate labneh with carrots, which by the way sucks. Like it's nothing
It's
like
so
labneh with
disappointing.
pita.
It's
It's
incredibly
hugely
disappointing.
disappointing. But I gave the dog a piece of carrot, and he ran away with it. And so I was thinking, like, because you know the dog pretty well, like, is he running away because he's vain and he doesn't want people to watch him eat, or is he like that? Is he like the fat kid who like
Like the little
hides what he
scavenger
eats?
who's gonna hide.
Right. So I'm not sure because like I'm kind of both. I'm kind of vain. I'm the vain one in our family, and I'm also the fat kid in our family who doesn't want anyone to see what he's eating because I could polish off like a box of fucking cookies in like a heartbeat.
To be fair,
And
so can I.
so I'm curious, like what do we think this dog is? Do we think he's
I
vain, or do we
think
think he's a fat kid, or is he just a scavenger? And I'm kind of reading into this too much.
I think if his shitting habits are anything to go by, where he refuses to make eye contact, I think he's like he doesn't want you looking at him. Like
It's just
I don't
simple. He
know.
just doesn't want me watching him while he's eating or shitting.
And
No,
like
that's
I get
fair.
that. Like I don't like when people watch me eat either.
You don't like when people watch you shit
Makes me
either?
uncomfortable.
Yeah, no, I don't like when people watch me shit either. I
No,
get
shit's
that.
fine.
So,
I don't want people watching me.
oh, you're okay with it. Okay, fair enough. Now I know that when you're shitting, I'm going to come in and barge in just for shits and giggles.
Listen, you've done that a couple times. It's very uncomfortable. You should stop that.
Okay, well there you go. So you don't like when people watch you shit. So now's the time. I think we should go to our advertiser. And Ari is always shocked by. Yeah, we're gonna get into it, and so I'm gonna read the copy, and then I'm gonna kind of explain. So the Pat Bev podcast, dude, is not a sponsor of Trade You for the Fruit Punch, dude. Pat Bev, Devin Booker psychiatrist, teams up with Adam Ferroni, known as Roni or Roan, I don't know,
Roan.
dude,
It's Roan. He
of
says Roan at the
Barstool
beginning.
Sports, dude, for an unfiltered look into the Lakers locker room and everything happening across the league, dude. Their episode, dude, covers the Draymond Green punch, Pat Bev's time in Minnesota, and his second stint in LA. Basketball in general, mascots, ramen noodles, and wine, dude. This copy was only partially written by the description of the pod on Spotify, but I ad-libbed a bit, dude. By
I
the way,
wonder what you
Roan is
added.
yeah. By the way, Roan is a Philadelphia guy who went to Penn State and says dude and bro way too fucking much. So with all that, please listen to the Pat Bev podcast. Now, the reason why we're doing this and advertising another podcast is I think it's our mission to get Pat Bev on this podcast at least.
For sure.
I mean, look, at least for like a minute or two, but hopefully for a little bit more than that during season one. And it goes back to what you said, like when does season one end? Maybe it doesn't end until we get Pat Bev on the podcast and then we start a season two. So it's up for debate. But our goal is to get him on the podcast. Now, Ari is a huge fanboy, and this leads me to a question for Ari, which is, who else are you a fanboy of? Because I have a few, but not a lot.
So I've got my guys on the Sixers. I've got Joel and Maxey.
Okay.
I wouldn't say that I'm a fanboy of James Harden, but I like him. Denny on the Wizards. I'm a big fan. Anthony Edwards.
Oh, wow.
You kind of caught
nobody
me on the spot.
On Tottenham Hotspur.
I'm wondering.
Except for
are we going all sports?
No, I don't want us to take 20 minutes on your fanboys, right? But
Bryce Harper is probably my only baseball one.
Really?
No, Alec Bohm. Alec Bohm too.
Okay.
Huge Alec Bohm guy.
Yeah, okay. You don't know the first thing about hockey, so you have no hockey fanboy. You're not
I couldn't care less, to be honest.
How about Eagles? Are you like a Carson Wentz fanboy?
Kelsey fanboy. I'm a Jordan Mailata fanboy. I'm a Jordan Davis fanboy.
Okay.
Jordan Davis guy.
So you're like a big homer is really what it comes down to. Like it's really just Philadelphia guys that you'd fanboy, like you'd get into.
I mean, there's others, but like not off the top of my head that I can really think of.
Okay, well, look, we're gonna have a huge season one.
I'm probably a fanboy of more non-Tottenham players than I am Tottenham players, though. I just can't.
Okay, like who?
I can't think of them off the top of my head right now.
So I was thinking about this, right? And I think I'm only a fanboy of like really one guy. Because here's the thing, right? I would love to hang out.
Who we're going with here.
I would love to hang out with a bunch of athletes, like just hang out, because I think I'm cool enough that I could like hang. But I don't like necessarily need a picture with them. But I don't need a picture with them. I don't need much more than just like, let's grab a drink and let's get to know one another. And eventually you're going to want to be my friend, not the other way around.
Also, obviously, Pat Bev is one of mine as well. I didn't mention him before, but like, he's obviously there. I think we've made that pretty clear.
Yes, I've said that. So I think there's really just one, maybe two. Federer is one of those guys that I would just I would fanboy and want to take a picture with. And the other one, and so it used to be McEnroe also, but ever since I may or may not have been around him, and so we're going to allude to some of the things I've done in my life, but we're not really going to talk about them. So ever since we're gonna hold off because there's a chance I may want to go back. But for people, they can do a little research and maybe find something. But I used to be a fanboy of McEnroe.
Involving a towel, just maybe if you want to look that up.
Well, and yeah, I mean, so the guy, yeah, he's from a country that is invading another country. Let's just leave it that way, right? I mean, people can
We
figure
won't
that
go
out.
into more detail than that.
Right. So McEnroe used to be, but I've heard some horrible things and kind of been around some horrible things. But I guess the other one would be Barkley for me. Like I just absolutely love Barkley and
Yeah,
would want to take a picture with
you're a
him.
big Chuck guy.
That's my guy, right? And yeah, I think we could probably hang and have, interesting conversation and drink some Camus wines together. That was a Pat Bev reference from his
Of
podcast,
course.
but that's one of the others. So I think at this point we've sufficiently handled all of the business
The
end of
business.
things, right? The random thoughts, the advertisements. So let's get to the Phillies. And let's get to I know you've got some notes on games 1 and 2. I'll let you get into them. I obviously have some thoughts. You asked me last night like how would I change the batting order, but we'll get into that. So what are your thoughts on, Phils versus Braves game 1? And just hit your bullet points. Like we don't need to get so far
I
into it
got
cuz
you.
it's okay.
So game one was obviously, for the most part, really good. Batters 3 through 7, especially, just hitting on all fronts and really like that's pretty much the reason why we won that game. Um, Rangers Suarez started, but was really shaky, and only lasted just slightly over 3 innings, same as their pitcher. But because that with Ranger, he looked shaky and gave up 1 run, I believe. May not remember exactly. Whereas their starting pitcher gave up 6, and that really like the difference.
So I think I
Sosa
think our
started,
listener
which I
he
liked.
did
I love
okay.
Sosa. I don't like. It's weird because I really like Bryson Stott, and I was upset that he wasn't starting. But I also love Sosa, so I wasn't that upset. Like
Well,
I was
I also
happy.
love Didi Gregorius, but we had to drop him at some point because he wasn't hitting for shit. And Stott was doing an adequate job at short and of hitting. He finally figured out. So I think the listeners have to realize that like you are not yet that familiar with baseball. Now, like
No, I'm a few months into.
your generation can figure out a topic pretty quickly by like YouTubing. Like I YouTube Pat Bev highlights last night because I wanted to watch how annoying he is on the court, and it's amazing.
Love him.
So, right, but you guys like that's what you guys do about everything in
I
order to
feel like
learn.
even though I'm only a few months in, like I could have an educated discussion on the topic of baseball and the Phillies in spite of only having watched for a couple months now.
Right. So I get that. Um, I actually because I work and because Major League Baseball was nice enough to make our game like a 1 o'clock start time, I didn't actually get to see the game on Tuesday. I just I realized we had won based on a text you had sent me saying, "Hey, Phil's won," and it was rough. But
I
you
don't think I
asked me
said it was
also.
rough. I kind of liked that game, other than Eflin.
Yeah, I don't think we have a choice other than
Your
Eflin.
boy's
I don't
not
know.
very good. I mean,
So
Sir Anthony is literally a closer.
and he's shaky as fuck, and
No, he's
who the hell
not.
knows what he's gonna do? I
He
don't
pitches
trust any
heat.
of those guys.
He
He pitches heat.
pitches
Yeah,
heat. Do
that's
you
fine.
trust Eflin, who gives up runs every time?
I don't trust any of them now. My problem with this team, like I said last week, right, is that they're abusive. And so they've played 36 innings. I'm going to give them all the credit for all 9 innings in game 1 of the Braves series. Even though they didn't hit during like I'm giving them credit for those. And then they had 1 inning, the ninth inning of game 1 against the Cardinals. So they've had 10 innings out of 36 where I'm giving them credit for. But otherwise, this team is fucking dog shit. They can't hit for shit. The
Don't
pitching is the
steal my
only
line.
good
Dog
thing.
shit's mine. Dog shit's
No,
fine.
it's true though. It's horrible. And so, we texted one another last night, and you said, "Well, how would you change a batting order?" And it's like it doesn't actually fucking matter what the
It
batting order
does,
is if
but
none of
you're
them can
wrong.
hit.
Like objectively,
They
you are
can't hit. So
incorrect.
Schwarber's not a 1. Schwarber's a 4. But who do you put at 1? Stott? No. Do you
Get,
put
let me give you my
Bohm at
lineup.
1?
Let me give you my
Give me
lineup.
your lineup because
So
there's
my
no like this is such an imbalanced
So this is
lineup
where
and
you're
team.
wrong, though. You are just incorrect. And this is
Okay.
where, like, we get into
Tell
you
me, oh
think
ye
you
of
know
2
more.
months of watching baseball.
No,
Go
but
for it.
you think you know more because you've
You know
watched
more.
more in the past. But, like, you haven't watched this season. I've watched
Okay?
pretty much every game
So
since
you tell me your lineup
what? Okay.
since
So
August.
you said no, way before that.
I know. Once they fired Girardi, you were in.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay. So
So I've
what's your
got
lineup?
Alec Boehm at my 1. I think he's exactly what you want from a leadoff hitter. He gets
What
on
is
base
what is
at a really
what
good
do you
clip.
want from a leadoff hitter?
I looked up the roles last night. I did the research.
Okay, what are the
Alec
rules? What do
Boehm
they say?
gets on base at a
Yeah.
really good rate. He gets you a
Okay.
base hit, occasionally an extra base hit.
Okay. And that's all they said? They didn't say that it's somebody that should look at a lot of pitches and show, like, especially that first at bat, you want him to take as many pitches as possible, foul as many balls off as possible, so the
Yeah,
rest of
sure,
his
but
team
like,
can see the stuff. I know it's not possible all
sure,
the time. Schwarber's not that guy, by the way, like, not even close.
Schwarber's
But okay,
not that guy.
we'll be here for
Boehm is the
18 hours
closest you
if
have to
I
that
keep
guy.
interrupting. So Bohm is your 1.
Segura is
Okay.
my 2.
Okay.
Again, a guy who like kind of just gets on base. Like that's kind of his role. I've got Bryce at 3. I think he's our
Okay.
best hitter. He could bring all 3 of those guys home, or he could also get on base.
Or he could
And
strike
then,
out. Okay. Yeah.
and then I've got Castellano. This is the problem. Based on this season, like it's an iffy selection, but Castellanos is supposed to be that power hitter, all those guys home.
Okay.
Then at 5, I've got Schwarber.
Right.
Because I read that those 2 guys are supposed to be like kind of the same style of hitter, power hitter.
Yeah.
At 6, I've got JT. At 7, I've got. Now, this is where things get interesting because at 7, I've got Sosa. Who, if
Okay.
you read my notes, I have playing first base.
Well, this is your agenda.
Of course.
This is your agenda.
Listen up.
Yeah.
Reese is absolute dog. Reese
Okay.
is the worst player I've seen.
So I will say, fast forwarding to game 2, Reese, if he makes that play at first base.
2. Game 1
No,
and
but
2, he was abysmal, and then
it's not about
defensively,
that.
ground ball was atrocious.
That ground ball. Well, thank you for, interrupting my thought. But
I'm
I was
angry.
exactly going to say, if Reese had just made that play and held that inning to essentially 1 run, we're still in the game. No, they had already scored.
No, but it's a routine. No, they scored their first on that ground ball.
That's not true. I don't believe that's true.
It is.
Anyhow,
true.
Let's say it was one
because Zach Wheeler had, I think, 0 expect earned runs.
Yeah, I don't know if that's.
It was all defensive.
It was early on. If he makes that play, and by the way, it was not a routine ground ball. It was fired in and it was hard, but he needs to make that play. And I don't think that play, that play was easier than those 2 pop-ups that the commentators kept on talking about, the Braves catching the left side of the infield when the shortstop had that diving catch in the outfield. The third baseman made that catch in foul territory. By the way, those plays, like, I didn't think they were all that great. They were fine, but that shot to first was easier than those two plays, no question about it. And he didn't make it. So Sosa's your 7. I'm
So
assuming Marsh is your 8.
Sosa and Bohm could both play first. I don't really care which one of them does it, but
Okay.
Marsh is my 8, and then Stott is my 9.
Okay. So I don't actually. What I'll tell you is, Sosa's not playing in my lineup. As much as you don't like
Incorrect.
Reese,
I
he's
love
playing.
Sosa. I love Stott. I want them both to play.
That's fine. It's not going to happen. It's not possible. I don't mind your 2 through 6. I actually like them. I would probably move Schwarber to 4. You just want him having more at bats because Castellanos has not hit this year. But your 2 through 6
But
are,
he's
are
way
reasonable.
better in the playoffs. Like,
It's
obviously,
4 games. It's not a
one
statistical
game,
sample.
but Schwarber's 0 for 16.
I understand. Again, it's a small sample size over the course of the season. I'd rather Schwarber get more at bats than Castellanos, no question. I don't. We do not have a number 1 hitter, and as a result, though, I think the only thing you could do is actually move Segura to 1, and then move things around a little bit.
So why Segura over Bohm?
So part of it is my own, just like predispositions against having a big, huge guy be your leadoff guy. Because in my mind, your leadoff guy was always the short, fast guy, and Bohm is not a short, fast guy. He's actually a tall, relatively fast guy.
Relatively.
And so it's really just my issue with having a tall dude hitting first. It might just be that. But I also don't think Bohm's a good enough hitter to be your number 1. You need a guy who, like I said, is going to get up there.
Is either.
He's not.
I think he's a better hitter than Gene.
Balls. I would tell you, if this team can get you a center fielder, I mean, it was essentially McClendon, I think his name was. Didn't we have? Well, you wouldn't remember this because you didn't even watch. But he was with the Pittsburgh Pirates, and he came to us, and then so just McClendon. I'm looking him up. I think that's who it was. And I think I've got that wrong. Yeah. Hopefully it'll come back to me by the end of the episode. But he was the right guy we had a few years ago, and he just was hurt and didn't play a lot. So I think in the offseason, what we need is a center fielder, and we need a center fielder who can hit number 1. And then I like our team, right?
Center
we
field,
could use some pitching.
Because the issue, I think Marsh at center field. I think
I can't hit
got
for
a
shit,
lot
though.
of we've got a lot of designated hitters baseman types, and I read that. I didn't come up with that myself, but you could move like a Schwarber to first next season, and then get.
It's definitely not Lloyd McClendon because he was born in 1959. He was a former professional player, and he did play for the Pirates, but it's not Lloyd McClendon. So Pirates outfielders.
This feels like a waste of time.
It's a total waste of time. We're going down a horrible rabbit hole. I'll have it for the next time. I don't want to waste a lot of time on this. And I know it was McSomething, but it's killing me. It's going to bother me. Andrew McCutcheon. Thank you very much, Google. Mr. Google, you have come through for me. Andrew McCutcheon. That was the guy who should have filled that role, but just was hurt too much. What I'll tell you is I like that we split. And if you asked me a week ago, right, or after the Cardinals series, like, would you take a split in Atlanta? I would say hell yeah.
Yes.
But when you win game 1, you get greedy and you want a 2-0 lead coming in.
And
Philly.
Losing game 2 in that fashion is really bad. Like, this reminds me of the last time a Philly sports team played in a team.
Well,
where
but
Reese Hoskins is Ben Simmons.
We're not the favorite.
I don't care. Just let me
We're not the favorite.
my analogy.
Yeah, your analogy is terrible,
Reese
but go for
Hoskins
it.
is Ben Simmons,
Right?
where he's absolutely atrocious and realistically is going to cost us something. Maybe not the series in this case, but cost us something. Kyle Schwarber is Tobias Harris, who kind of got let off the hook a little bit for being atrocious in that series because there was a guy who was worse than him.
Yeah,
And
I
I
can see
really
that.
hope
It
it
just
doesn't cost us the way it did in that series.
it will. I don't think. I mean, obviously, we need to split in Philly, if not win both. I would
You
love
have to
us to.
finish it in Philly, or
You
else
kind of have to finish it in Philly. Yes, that's. I think going back to Atlanta, Game 5. Although I think, as we've talked about, I hate Atlanta. They're probably my least favorite team in all of baseball, and so to go to Atlanta, and I'm saying, a Game 5 in Atlanta. That's assuming we even win one in Philly, but to go to Atlanta in a Game 5 and beat them would just be so fantastic for me because I so hate Atlanta. I hated Chipper Jones. I hated John Smoltz. I hated all of Maddox and that team and Andrew Jones. Like these are guys you don't know. That I mean, these games. Some of them were played before you were born. But man, do I hate that team so much, and it's just continued through my adulthood.
I'm already
Um,
starting to despise them.
yeah,
Like
no,
just from these two games, it's bad. Um, I like I thought Wheeler was good in this game. I thought like there were some decent moments, but too often we stranded guys on base and the important hitters didn't hit. And that's really what it came down to.
Well, so that's exactly what it came down to, right? They are 3 through 7. Actually, the whole line they need to hit, and they're not hitting, and they've only hit for 10 innings, and that's not good enough in the playoffs. And our pitching has been solid. Wheeler pitched, like you said, a solid game, and he had a bad inning that could have been avoided if Hoskins had made a tough play. It was not a routine play, but a tough play.
It's pretty routine.
Um,
And the new
it's
batting
it's
order, I
actually
think, even if they don't hit any more than they are currently, a new batting order helps because once you get to the top of the order right now, it's 2 guaranteed outs. And you
yeah.
can't play like that, right? Like if you're at an out and you've got a guy on base and you're going to your 1 and 2 hitters, like that shouldn't be, oh, this inning's over. I should never have to think that.
So I get it. They're in a little bit of a slump. You hope they get out of it, but they're in a look. They're our abusive relationship where we keep saying maybe tomorrow they'll be good.
I'm not
No,
saying that though. That's the
they're going to be
difference.
good tomorrow, and then they have a game 1 against the Braves. You're like, see, like the
Except that
Phillies
I've
were
never said
good.
that about Schwarber or
But I
Hoskins.
say it about all of them. That's what
But
they are. The
you're
Phillies
just
are
a
an abusive
homer. Like
relationship.
that's the difference. I'm realistic.
No.
Even though I'm a homer because I like support a lot of players more than you do, like I see them for what they are when it comes out. I never
But
thought
here's
Reese
the
was all
thing.
that.
I get it, but here's the you cannot change an entire team or lineup in the play. Like you don't have it's kind
You
of like
have to.
Daryl
I don't care
Morey
if you
saying
have
there are 15 guys on a team on a basketball team. It's not like you can swap out 15 for 15 new ones. You
except for
can't.
these are
This
all
is
guys you already have.
this is your fucking team though. This is your team you've got to go in with. You have nothing else on the bench. What are you going to start? Veerling at first, Marsh at center field, Sosa at short, Stott at third, Bohm at second, like fuck
No, I
everything
told you
up and just
exactly what
like
I'm gonna do.
no, but you're not going to
I'm
you're not
making
going to do
one
that.
switch.
Right. And Rob Thompson, right, who you love, right, you have to trust him. Now, I know you don't trust Doc when it comes to Sixers, but you got to trust Thompson. He's actually done nothing for you to not trust him. He took this team
No,
that
that
was
he's
in
not
the
the problem. The
fucking
problem is the
shitter,
batters.
in the dog pile shitter, like in June, and had no confidence, and he brought them up. And he took them to the playoffs when they should have made the playoffs 3 years ago with the teams they had. So just trust him. Let him be.
Not the
He's
problem,
not
though.
going to bench Hoskins. It's not going to happen.
Then at
So
least
stop
change the
thinking
order
about it.
slightly. Like
Changing the
change
order, maybe
2 players around. That's what I've been saying.
Well, I would
you
hit
are
Hoskins.
reading into
You know
what
what?
I'm
Right
saying.
now, I would hit Hoskins at like 7. I wouldn't hit him at 2. Right? That's what
That's
you
all
do.
I've
You
been
take the 2-hitter
saying.
to 7. Well, you didn't actually say it, but that's okay. I think with that
I said
said,
change the batting order, and you were like, you can't change the entire team.
I mean, you wanted Hoskins out completely. That's not
Well,
going to
yeah,
happen.
obviously.
Okay, so you got to be realistic. But moving Hoskins to 7, it's actually not a bad call.
All right, we're gonna move on.
So with that, let's move on, right? Because we've got a game tomorrow. I think we've got the 4:00 start. We'll see what happens. Tottenham. Oh boy, that should have been.
It should have been so easy.
I will say, one thing that's really simple. So Conte obviously went back to his 3-4-3, started
Which I hated.
our best friend Emerson Royale. I think we are a better team when the opposition scores against us and they score early. It just like lights a fire under our asses, and for whatever reason we do better. But man, those last 10 minutes were pretty fucking bad. But the last 10 especially,
generous.
once they scored that second goal, whew. Now, a few things I noticed. There was a free kick from like 25 yards out that Kane took. And I don't know why we continue to let the man who has the Premier League record for the most free kicks taken without scoring. I don't know why and Sonny, I believe, was still in the game.
0%.
No, he got one, I think, early on, but I think it's 59 straight.
That was a preseason game this year. No. I know for an absolute fact, his conversion rate from free kicks is 0%.
Well, he's missed 59 straight in the Premier League. That's for sure. I looked that up. I think a few weeks ago I don't know if you noticed this, a few weeks ago during one of their games, what they did, so it didn't look like he took the free kick, was they had Eric Dyer on top of the ball, and he just nudged it. Did you see that? Yeah, so it didn't count towards his awful stats. But he needs to stop taking our free kicks.
Now, the problem I have is it was last year, but it kind of made sense because you didn't your options were Sonny, who's very hit or miss, or Eric Dyer, who's a center back. So it kind of made sense.
But this year, hit or miss?
Sonny, you've got Perisic, you've got obviously I'd take hit or miss, but I'm just saying there was rationale there where there is none this year.
I don't. And by the way, that penalty. So I will say, here's the way I look at penalties: is there are really bad misses and there are okay misses. And when I mean a really bad miss, I don't actually mean the miss itself, right? So, Kane Roberto Baggio'd it over the cross, he kicked a field goal. It's a bad miss in terms of the actual kick, but the situation was such that, and I know we were reeling, and I know Conte was afraid we might actually give up a third, but you're up 3-2 and up a man. That's the time to miss a penalty, not when you're down 1-0 and you need that to get yourself back in the game for whatever reason. So it was a bad miss penalty kick-wise, but it wasn't a bad miss from a situational standpoint. I just, it was interesting because I didn't get to watch a lot of the game. I did have
hang on. Don't skip ahead.
So where? Okay, so what did you want to talk about?
Let's talk about before this first. I thought Sonny had his best game of the season, or best start, I guess, maybe, because obviously
the volley was amazing. Sure, but the volley was insane for the second goal.
Harry Kane had a good game, or a good 60 minutes, I should say. They should have had 2 red cards. There was a guy who fouled Sonny and went down with Sonny. And it was clearly a yellow card challenge, but I guess since he went down and they were already down to 10, the ref let him off. And lastly, like, now we're going to get into Brian Heel, who I feel for. I feel for him. First of all, Lucas Moura, and we lost control of that game. I just want to say that.
It wasn't Lucas Moura's fault.
No,
it was also
he came
Sanchez.
On and we lost control. I don't care. I don't care. Shh, agenda
Sanchez.
over facts.
Okay.
Agenda over facts. But Heel should have had essentially 2 goal contributions, right? He had the fake assist for the penalty, which Kane skied, and then Kane had a horrible pass to him, which he was completely open and should have had a goal.
So,
right? Like,
no question. I don't know why.
I don't know what he has against
I don't know
Brian
why
Heel.
he put that. I don't know why Kane put that in the air. He needs to put it on the ground. Heel doesn't know how to head a ball. Regardless, Heel does not know how to head the ball.
It's a terrible
Heel
pass.
does not know how to head the ball.
It's in front of him.
Even if he put it on a dime. No. I'm not blaming Heel at all. I'm blaming Harry Kane 100%. Harry Kane, even if he had put that ball perfectly on Heel's head, the likelihood of Heel scoring from a header is so small. Why he did that? Like, Harry Kane should know better. And I think what happened, and I'm not giving him the benefit. Well, I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. I'm not giving him a pass. Is that he missed the penalty and he was a little bit just thrown off. Now, Heel, his dribbling is insane. He got into good space. His first touch, especially before he got that penalty, if you notice that, he had a breakaway and his first touch was just atrocious. But then he got away with it because the defender tried to backheel it and he was just quicker than the defenders.
But he also fights to get the ball back when he loses it.
He's you know what? He's a mini Lamella with a little bit more skill. Yeah, he's a little bit of a Lamella, a little bit more skill, but not quite as. Yeah, but not quite. Like, he doesn't have that. I don't know, the bite. I feel like this team doesn't have a lot of bite. Like, Kuti, for whatever reason, Romero has just been off since he came back from that injury, and he doesn't have the bite.
He's been a lot better.
I feel like he's missing something. He's like a little bit aloof. Dyer is, thank God for Dyer.
Dyer was atrocious.
Look, he gave up the goal with a bad pass.
You're a homer for the wrong.
No, I'm not. But I think Dyer, as soon as Dyer came out and Sanchez came in, and you put Kuti as the central guy, like, we broke down. And when you took out Højbjerg, we broke down, right? Like, there are guys on this team right now that are basically just the glue holding this shit together. And to me, it's Dyer and it's Højbjerg. And I think if we were to bring in Bissouma to play in a 3-4-3, I think he takes Bentancur's place. I don't think he takes Højbjerg's place.
He shouldn't, though. Like, it's not a Højbjerg controls the game thing. Like, Højbjerg runs around like a headless chicken. He does nothing tactically. He does nothing for you. Like, I've always maintained this. And he's been playing, but at his core, he's a shit player. And Bissouma is the exact been out of form because he's got no game time and he's got no, like, match sharpness. He's a good player, and if you give him minutes, like, he'll actually do what he's supposed to, and he'll be better than Højbjerg. Now, I think neither Bentancur nor Højbjerg should start, but that's a whole different topic.
No, I know you're a Skippy guy. What I'll tell you is I do like Ben. So there was a point in time early in the game, it was still 0-0, first 5 or 10 minutes, where Frankfurt, not Stuttgart, was possessing the ball in defense. And Bentancur, I think it must have been because Conte had told him, or we were just a little passive, and Bentancur started pressuring. and motioning to the rest of the guys to come with him. And so everyone pushed up, which is important because I feel like we give other teams a lot of space right now. And I don't know why, because when we actually pressure them, and there have been a few instances of this year where we pressure the ball in the defensive, our offensive third, their defensive third, and we get the ball quickly, and then we're able to counter even in a small field. And I don't know why we don't do that more often, especially on the
Well, the
wings.
problem with us giving up a lot of space is a midfield control problem. The two guys that we regularly play just aren't capable of controlling a midfield. Neither one kind of player. Like, you want to know
we
why
also
we give up
struggle
all that
because
possession. That's why.
well, but I also think we struggle with the wing backs, right? So, and I say wing backs, it's really the right wing back, and it's Emerson. And I used to say, who else do we have? But I'm kind of tired of watching him play. He doesn't put a good
The
ball
answer
in. He
always
doesn't
has
defend
been,
well.
like, you say, who else do we have? We've got two other guys, and according to you, we've got three other guys because you're banging the drum
Lucas.
with Lucas.
I want to see Lucas play there. I want to see him be my
Who, by
Victor
the way,
Moses.
is the second worst player I've ever seen play.
Who, Victor Moses?
Only behind Emerson. Lucas.
Oh, Lucas. No, so Victor Moses, man. Lucas is going to play that
You
role
brought
for me.
Victor Moses into this.
Well, but that's what they did. He was not a right wing back when Conte joined Chelsea, and Conte created just
he
a
had
juggernaut.
more than to be a wing back, though.
Yeah, no, I think
Lucas
he was
doesn't have any
a bit
tools
bigger
to be good, period.
I want to see Lucas play defense. I want to see the experiment. I want to see how it works. I'm just interested at this point. Like,
the only
play
way I'll
Nottingham
accept it
Forest
is
and let me
as
see
a
it.
wide center back. I want to see
No.
Lucas Moura, 5'7"
No.
Lucas Moura with his jumping ability.
I'm going to be there.
That's the only
I'm
way
going to be there for 4 games, and I'm thinking the Leeds game.
Flexing.
No, I think I want to see at the Leeds game. I want to see Lucas as my right wing back. That's my move right there. It better happen.
You have to be stopped.
I love it. So we've got Everton this weekend. We've got Manchester United midweek, I believe, and then we've got Newcastle. And look, if we can we need to get 6 points at a minimum, because I think the Man U game is away. But if we could get 7, obviously I'd be ecstatic. Taking points off of Ten Hag at Manchester would be fantastic. Like, I just would make my day.
I see a world in which we get 2 points. That's the problem.
Yeah, no, it's
maybe even one.
I think, look,
the draw with Everton,
if those
and
3 games,
Newcastle are sneakily good.
Yeah, I would tell you if those 3 games were away, your 2-point prediction is reasonable. But I think because we're home for the Everton and Newcastle games, I think we win those games.
You put a lot.
Now I'm not going to wear
home versus away than I do.
Well, we've been horrible on the road, and we've been pretty good at home. So
period.
I know, but we're better at home than we are on the road.
The results are better, but overall, we play just as badly.
But it's about results right now.
But again,
would you care? Let's say we play the ugliest soccer on the face of this planet, but we win the Premier League. Do you actually give a shit?
Great.
Then
but
shut
that's
up.
The thing. Don't win the league like that anymore. Because eventually you
might.
get found out. No, but you don't.
But you might.
But you had that guy already. You had Jose, who couldn't do it.
No,
it fell apart
Jose was cooked. But Jose also didn't really have the I don't know, the minds, the hearts of the players, whereas it really feels like Conte does. Now, I know Kane loved Jose. Kane absolutely adored him, right?
They all loved him while we were winning, and then we started losing.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see.
The
next 3 games will tell us a lot.
I see the exact
I'll say the next 3 games. The next 10 games before the World Cup are essentially going to drive our season. We're not going to catch Man City. I think Arsenal will eventually get found out. I think people are starting to warm up on the fact that Liverpool are cooked, which I've been saying since the first game.
They won 7-1 yesterday, but they also beat Bournemouth 9-0, and now they're below Bournemouth in the table.
Yeah, no, it's right. Who do they beat? Copenhagen? Like, seriously?
Rangers.
That's essentially an MLS squad. Oh, they beat Rangers. That's right. But they've beaten Copenhagen. They've beat Rangers. Like, those are MLS squads. I hate to break it to you. And you're wearing your MLS Union jersey, your Union sweatshirt. So you know all about MLS. So let's move on.
Marcelo Gallardo left River today. That's my guy.
I know you've been saying it. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So
Gallardo.
With that, let's move on to. Yeah. Okay. I think we're at that point where. No, I don't want to say it. Gallardo.
You're the worst.
Gallardo.
You always ruin my fun.
I know. Sixers. We're on the Sixers.
4-0 preseason.
Who gives a shit? It's
you
the
didn't
preseason.
Watch a single minute of the preseason.
I actually did. No, well, so the Phillies game was on at the same time, so I only got to watch like 5 minutes yesterday. But I watched like 5 minutes, and I was thoroughly bored. But I do love Montrez. I think Montrez is.
He didn't play yesterday. Nice try.
I know, but I'm just telling you, I love Montrez. I know he didn't play yesterday. I think he's going to be big for us. He's going to take, 16 minutes a game from Joel, and that's perfectly fine, or 14 minutes a game. I like our team. I like our chances, but it's all about, to me, it's actually all going to fall on Harden. And
that's what we've been saying all offseason.
Right? Like, if you listen to Sixers GM Daryl Morey, he would actually tell you it's kind of falling on Maxey and how good he becomes. But I think it's Harden. If Harden scores 20 a game with 9 assists and 7 rebounds, like, that's not going to do it. I need Harden to score like 24 and be a 10-8 guy. And at that point, and create 32 points for Embiid. And if we can do that, no, like
do you mean Joel, like Embiid scores 32, or do you mean he actually create? Oh, that's so.
No. Joel scores 32. No, I don't expect.
No,
I don't expect Harden
like
to create 32
points for Joel.
Yeah. So the problem I've always had is Joel is he's a guy who posts up and you got to feed him in the post. And I am absolutely shocked by how bad post passing is in the NBA. Like, first of all, Joel needs to seal. And he's pretty good at sealing. I mean, he's a big dude. He's a big body. There are times where he's not great at it. Like, little guys give him problems, I think, when he tries to seal. But when he seals and then he puts his hand up, I don't know why they just don't throw it to his fucking hand. Like, it drives me absolutely insane.
None of them can make entries. It's absurd.
When I played at the sporting club back in the day.
Oh, boy.
Yes, we're going to go there. I'm not talking JCC. I'm talking sporting club basketball. And I played with a guy, Jonathan Hirsch. He was a backup center for Delaware, the University of Delaware. He's like 6'10". And he took me aside one day because he was posting up. Now, Hirsch also liked to do a lot of shooting, and he was a post. He should have just stayed down at the post. And one day he took me aside, and he said, "Do you know how to pass in the post?" And I was like, "Yeah, I throw." He goes, "No. Do you know how?" And I said, "No, I don't." And he said, "Here's the deal. Once I've sealed and I put my hand up, just throw the ball to my fucking hand. So if my hand is here, throw it here. If my hand is there, throw it there. Throw it to my fucking hand." And I don't know why NBA players don't understand that. Now, obviously, you're not going to cock it back and throw it like a baseball to the hand, but throw it to his fucking hand. And we can't do that. I don't understand why. It drives me fucking insane. Hopefully this year we'll be better at it. Anyhow, I'm off my soapbox. I can breathe. I know you want to talk about one of your favorite players, Charles Bassey.
Maxey.
No, I know Maxey's your favorite.
How dare you head in my talking points?
Well, look, Maxey is the kind of guy, nobody thought this guy was going to be that good. He's turning into a great player. I'm still not convinced he's a good shooter, but
you're wrong. Every
I've
statistic
always
tells you
thought,
you're wrong.
I know the statistics do. I'm curious to watch because I haven't watched enough today or this preseason, I should say. But I've always said you need to square up your feet, and he doesn't. And I'm curious to see if he's actually changed his shot a little bit this offseason and he's squaring up his feet a little bit more. But even so, he's figured out a way to shoot when his feet aren't square. And that's, I mean, it's unorthodox to say the least. Um, but he's great. I'm interested to see, and we've talked about this before, how Dybul has he gotten better this offseason?
You always love to bring this guy up. Just let him
I
go.
love him.
Just
No,
let him
I love
go.
him.
Let him die.
But Melton's kind of the dog we needed, right? Like
He is lockdown. He breaks up
he.
so much. Like it's
I mean,
nice
here's
to
the thing
watch.
with Melton and Matisse on the floor together. Like that's got to be fun to watch. That's got to be hard for a team to score against.
Enough with
I'm just saying,
Matisse.
like,
Enough with
no, I
Matisse.
can't.
He's
So,
shit.
all right. So, what do you want to talk about now? Because I always take over these conversations, and clearly you have something you want to say.
It's not that I have something I want to say. It's just no one gives a fuck about Matisse anymore. You're the only person.
That's fine.
Just get him gone. Find a good trade. Bring me Jay Crowder.
Yeah. Look, I'd be fine with that. I think I'd be okay with us letting go of Matisse for Jay Crowder. But I'd also be okay with us keeping Matisse and seeing what happens.
I mean, it's obvious. I don't think that this roster is done. Oh, boy. I don't think that this roster is done. We cut 2 players today. We cut Isaiah Joe and Charles Bassey. Now, I think both of those are horrible. I think that is just stupid from Daryl Morey, but I'll get into that a little bit in a minute. It's like I think they want to do something with this roster, with that last spot, and I wouldn't be surprised if that's Jay Crowder. But
just picking him up though. So how do you've got to? Here's the thing: if you trade for a Crowder, you're likely giving up more assets than you're getting. So I'm curious why they left open the spot, unless they think there's a guy out there who, like Isaiah Joe, is going to get dropped, or like Bassey, who fits what they need.
There's a lot of players who are going to get dropped soon.
Right. I mean, they have to by Saturday. Here's the thing, and I like Isaiah Joe, but was he ever going to play over? And I know we can split hairs about the 1, the 2. He's a guard, right? And so was he ever going to play over Shake, over Daniel House, over Forcon, over Melton, over Maxey, over Tyrese, over Matisse, I should say. He was never going to play over any of those guys.
Than a decent amount of those guys.
But he doesn't fit the role that they need.
But that's where it's stupid. I've seen enough from him in the little I've seen of him. No, but that's the thing. Every time I see him, he's a good shooter with good form. He's a willing defender, and that's a valuable guy. It's certainly more,
but he's not going to get
more than Furkan does.
You got to understand this. But this is a puzzle. Right? And he doesn't fit into. He's not a piece in the puzzle in Daryl Morey's mind.
Piece for the puzzle.
No, but he's not though.
Daryl Morey overthinks these things. Howie from 3 years ago.
I think. So Morey is really, really smart, really quantitative, really statistics and numbers driven, and he also understands the puzzle, and he understands that everybody's a piece in the puzzle. And Isaiah Joe's piece just didn't fit anymore, and that's okay, right? So cut him, let him go somewhere else. There's got to be a reason for it. Here's what I always say, and I'll say it to you. I say it to you all the time. There's only one ball. There's only 15 roster spots, and there's only 240 minutes for a guy to play, for a team. There's only 240 minutes available to a team.
Question for you.
Right.
Who's more deserving of a roster spot? Isaiah Joe or only rostered Charlie Brown Jr.?
So Charlie Brown Jr. has a little bit more height to it. No, I'm just giving you a reason why. I think Charlie Brown Jr. is not as good a shooter as Isaiah Joe. We know that, right? But he's not a horrible shooter. He
Yes, he is.
defensively,
No, he's atrocious as
uh,
a shooter.
I don't know if he's played enough for us to know how good or bad a shooter he is in the
Has
NBA.
Isaiah Joe
But
played
his
enough for you to know?
defense has who? Who did you say?
Because you're giving Charlie Brown Jr. the benefit of the doubt because he hasn't played enough. But isn't it the same exact thing as
I
Isaiah
mean,
Joe?
Isaiah Joe's been with us for 3 years, or is it just two?
Two.
Charlie
He
Brown
was
Jr. has been with us for like 14 games. So the sample size is so much smaller. And I think Charlie Brown Jr. does play better defense than Isaiah Joe, and he's taller than Isaiah Joe. So there's flexibility in the fact that he can probably play the 1 to the 3 versus Isaiah Joe cannot.
So now I've got a
Isaiah Joe
follow-up
can only play.
question.
Yeah.
What does he offer you that's different than Matisse? If you're keeping Matisse,
He doesn't. That actually, I don't think he offers you much more. They
so Isaiah
both.
Joe's a different kind of player. Wouldn't that
He's
fit
no
the
different
puzzle
than
better? You don't want the same
no,
piece.
not really, because you've got Shake. Shake
Different
can
kind of
fit that
player.
puzzle piece.
Not
No, I
really.
mean
Shake's a worse
no,
shooter. Shake's a worse defender. A less willing
yeah,
defender.
but like you're talking on the margins, and I think Shake gets more
This
time, and I
game's
think
based on the margins,
Forcon as a shooter gets more time. So
which is
too many of these
ridiculous
guys.
to me. But
You're
he's
not like
worse than
it's fine,
Isaiah Joe.
but he doesn't fit the piece. Like he doesn't fit the puzzle. That's all there is to it. Like there's not much more to it, and you're overanalyzing a guy who, by the way, is fucking 14th on our team anyway, even if he was still on the team. So why do we
But he
actually
shouldn't
give
be.
a shit? What should he be? You want him to be the second guy off the bench?
No,
Like
but he
here
should
comes
be backup guard.
Montrez, and here comes Melton, and oh, by the way, Isaiah Joe's checking in too, and he's the
Yeah,
eighth guy.
kind of.
Fuck no,
I'd
he's
much
not
rather
good enough
watch
to be your
him.
eighth guy.
I think he's better than Shake. I think he's better than Furkan. I think he's better than Matisse. I think he's probably like Daniel House.
You're an Isaiah Joe.
Whatever.
You know what? Wherever he ends up, you should get a jersey because you're clearly a fanboy of Isaiah Joe. He's like,
I'm not a fanboy. I just watch and I watch other guys play, and I don't see what
best guy.
Like. How do I see something that Doc doesn't, and Doc gets paid?
Because you don't. You also don't see them in practice, and you don't see what they're doing. And I give the coaches, the GMs,
shit on the court.
I see Furkan getting into fucking fights when he's playing international basketball.
I'll give you that.
You need a little bit of that.
That's
right?
fine.
You need
but
a little bit of that on
your
team. No, because it's the NBA and it's the culture is like I'm gonna pretend to fight.
You keep contradicting yourself.
Because that's what I do. I'm good at it.
Like I have genuine arguments that are correct.
You don't really. You're not. I mean, Isaiah Joe is not an argument. We've spent way too much time on Isaiah Joe. Like it's Isaiah fucking Joe.
Bassey. I'm pissed about Charles Bassey too.
I don't see what you see in him.
Charles Bassey locked down Giannis. Genuinely. Locked down Giannis.
When was this?
And now, last season. Charles Bassey did
one game?
Really good what do you mean what game? Against the Bucks. Like you want me to
one game, I said one game.
Oh,
one game.
I mean again, it's like Charles Brown Jr. You said we haven't seen enough because he's only played like 4 games.
Fine, but maybe Giannis was having a bad day. Maybe his kid had the vid and like he was really upset. And so Charles Bassey came in and just bumped him a little bit. And he just wasn't feeling it because it's an 82-game season. And Giannis wasn't feeling like he wanted to get 37 on us with his coin purse of a bag. Right? So he got, 24 against us or something.
I don't know.
Bassey to me.
And Jokic.
I don't love Bassey. I know he's your Clint Capella. I just never saw it. He's too oafy, and he's not a good enough roller, and he's not like. I watch enough games to know that Charles Bassey is no Clint Capella, and Clint Capella is not even that good, right? Like he works in a system with Trae Young, and he'd actually work in a system with James Harden because he did, right? He played for that team, But Charles Bassey is not that guy, and they've
He is.
had whatever it is, half a season plus the summer plus preseason to try to figure it out, and it hasn't worked. I think Paul Reed is more of that guy. I don't know why you don't think Paul Reed is that guy. Paul Reed has
I
the
love Paul
body.
Reed.
I know you love Paul Reed,
Paul
but
Reed's
he to me
shorter.
is more Capella
He's too short.
than Capella's
He's
short.
a better shooter.
You know Capella's only 6'10", and so is Paul Reed. They're both 6'10".
I think. I thought he was 6'8".
Who, Capella or Paul Reed?
I think Bassey is 6'10". I think
but he's a bigger I've never seen it. I think, again, you have one ball, you have so many minutes in a game.
You keep bringing up this one ball. He needs 3 touches and he scored.
Joel Embiid will play 34 minutes a game. Montrezl Harrell will play 14. And Paul Reed and Bassey are going to sit on the bench and never play. And that's all there is to it. So it doesn't really matter. And so you got to trust that they've got an idea or a reason for now having 14 guys, and that somebody on one of the other rosters is going to become available, and that's the guy they want to fill the piece. They're missing a piece, and that's the piece they're missing. And Bassey's piece doesn't fit, and Isaiah Joe's piece doesn't fit. That's all there is to it.
These guys are going to go somewhere else. They're going to prove me right and prove me wrong.
But they prove you right in a different system.
No, but you're going to sit here in 5 months and you're going to be saying, why do we let these guys go? They're so good. And I'm going to remind you of this one because I've seen it. I've seen Charles Bassey be a legitimately good backup big. I've seen Isaiah legitimately good guard in this league, and both of them are gone now. And they're going to go elsewhere, and I hope the Sixers whenever they come back. I do.
That's fine. I hope you realize, the championship is not going to be won because of this move. The championship's going to be won because of essentially 1 through 5. No, I don't think so. It's going to be 1 through 5.
When Montrez has a decent regular season and a really bad postseason, and you're saying, damn, if only we had more options as backup bigs off the bench, there was your option.
Montrez isn't going to play that much, though. So Joel's going to play 36 to 38 minutes in the postseason. Dwight Howard was a different kind of player. He was way different than Bassey.
Unplayable player.
Okay. Well, he's still better than Bassey and provided them with something different. Okay. I think we move on from there. And I think we're at the stage where we list or we talk about our punch of the week. Our punch of the week. So, Ari, take it away. Who's your punch of the week?
Daryl Morey, as of this morning. I'm sick of his shit.
You are such a baby about that.
I hate them all.
I can tell. So I've
been to Philly sports for too long. I needed this. I needed the hatred to bubble back up.
Okay, fair enough. So my punch of the week is, and we're going back to episode 1, but I'm honing it in a little bit. It's the Phillies hitters. It's all of them.
That's harsh.
They all need to do better.
That's harsh.
No, it's
Reese
not.
Hoskins. You know it is.
No,
it's Reese Hoskins.
It's not. It's Schwarber. It's Hoskins. It's Castellanos because he hasn't really hit for shit. It's Bryce Harper who hasn't really hit for shit. It's all of them.
Castellanos and Bryce Harper have both looked better in the last 2 games.
Fine, they've looked better, but they haven't looked great. You pay these guys a ton of money to hit when it matters. And thus far, they've done very little hitting when it matters. And so with that, we have concluded episode 4 of season 1 of Trade You for the Punch.
Our angriest episode yet.
No, episode 2 was our angriest, and it was our worst too. Yours, maybe.
No, I think I was angrier today.
I don't think so. But we thank our listeners for listening and for sticking with us for an hour and 4 minutes. And we thank you, Ari, for just being here. Certainly appreciate it. All right. Thanks so much. See you later.